الرسول الصافي أكرم منه ما في.
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 البدر انقسم له يا صافي، ملك الموت بسم له
الصافي.
الأمر انحسم له من الرسل بملوين الصافي.
الرسول الصافي أكرم منه ما في.
يا حصني وملاجي
الصافي.
مركز كل لاجي
الصافي.
في رؤيا علاجي وما خيبت راجي الصافي. الرسول الصافي.
Bulugh al-Maram. If there's any question regarding what we spoke about, feel free to ask. We'll go through. I think Isam is there with us. He's going to read the hadith there, and straight away we'll start the first lesson in Ta'lim al-Muta'allim, Tariq al-Ta'allum, inshallah. Naam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We're starting the new bab, I think.
Naam.
Bab Mashu ala Hufayn.
Okay, so this is Babun Mashu ala Hufayn, where we wipe on our, if we have what we call the leather socks, and also scholars agreed in some ways you can wipe on your normal socks. So we're going to look at wiping in wudu. Now,
ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: كنت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فتوضأ فأهويت لإنزاع خفيه فقال: دعوهما فإني أدخلتهما طاهرين مسح عليهما متفق عليه.
نعم. So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. باب المسح على الخفين. So this is the chapter of wiping over the socks. Al-khuf, as I made mention, leather socks. عن مغيرة بن شعبة رضي الله عنه قال, Mughira, he was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he started, كنت مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فتوضأ. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam started performing wudu, and also I was also performing wudu behind him, which means I was distant, and I was trying to take his socks off. Okay, فأهويت لأنزع خفيه. I was trying to take his socks off because he was performing wudu. He reached there. I was trying to help to remove his socks off, and the Prophet ﷺ said, فقال دعهما, leave them, فإني أدخلتهما طاهرتين. The Prophet ﷺ said, leave them because I put them on when both of them were clean, which means that they were clean attached to my feet. By wiping on them is enough for me to pray. So that is what happened regarding this particular hadith. So when you have hoof or when you have socks on, as long as you're performing wudu and they are clean, or basically we say when your foot are clean when you're performing the wudu, then that should be enough for you to be able to wipe on it without taking them off. And the only concern is if the socks that you have is below your ankle, then you have to take it off. If it's over your ankle, you can wipe up on it, but if it's below it, you cannot. Now,
وللأربعة عنه إلا النسائية أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مسح على الخفة وأسفل وفي إسناد ضعف.
So this hadith is weaker, and as he made mention, all four narrators agreed except Nisa'i, but this hadith by itself is considered weak hadith. So basically he said the Prophet ﷺ masaha a'ala al-khuf, which means the top of the leather socks, and also wa asfala, and also wiped underneath. And this hadith, as we said, is weak hadith, weaker. The main hadith regarding this is he only wiped on top of the distance, so he just wiped on top, not underneath. And these are some of the things that scholars will remind us always. If we are to go with ilm al-ras, or what we call logic thinking, you will say that, well, if people walk, they walk with their feet underneath. If anything that will be dirty will be underneath, not on top. But the deen has nothing to do with personal logic. There are ways in which we do things, and in this way the Prophet ﷺ wiped on top, not under. So we don't wipe under. And this hadith, as we saw, is the narration itself is weak, so there's no wiping underneath. Wallahu alam. Naam.
وعن علي رضي الله تعالى عنه قال لو كان الدين بالرؤيا
بالرأي لو كان الدين بالرأي
لو كان الدين بالرأي لكان أسفله الخف أولى بمسح من أعلاه وقد أرى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يمسح على ظاهر خفيه.
نعم.
أخرجه أبو داود بإسناد حسن.
So this hadith has confirmed this one is more of a good chain than the previous one. And he said, Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, لو كان الدين بالرأي, if Islam is done by opinion, okay, logic to look at, لكان أسفل الخف أولى بالمسح. It could have been that underneath the socks could have been what will be wiped, من أعلاه, instead of the top. وقد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يمسح على ظاهر خفيه. I saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم wiping on top of his socks. Naam. And this hadith is said isnaduhu hasan. It has a good chain. Naam.
وعن صفوان ابن عسال رضي الله تعالى عنه قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمرنا إذا كنا سفرا أن ننزل الخفافان 3 أيام وليالهن إلا من جنوبة ولكن من غائط
So in this hadith also, when we look at it, not only one day that one can have the socks on and keep wiping just for a day. It said that وَأَنْ صَفْوَانُ بْنْ أَنْسَالٍ قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمرنا. He, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, used to command us or instruct us إذا كنا سفرا, if we are in traveling, أن لا ننزع خفافنا, that we should not take our socks off for how many days? 3 أيام وليالهن. We will not take our socks off for 3 days and nights. We will keep wiping on it for 3 days, which means after the 3rd day we can take the socks off and then wash our feet, and then we can put it on and also keep wiping for another 3 days and nights. And he said regarding this hadith, the only condition is إِلَّا مِنْ جَنَابَةٍ, except when one is in the state of junub. Then with that, definitely he will then have to take the socks off to have ghusl before they come back to the same wiping for those 3 days and 3 nights that comes again. But when it comes to walakin min ghaitin, if he goes to the toilet, wa bowling or urinating, wa nawmin or sleep and wake up to make wudu, they don't need to take the socks off, they just need to wipe it. This is to talk about the khuf. Scholars who are, we're looking at mu'asira, modern day scholars also agreed on this hadith, but they said when you have a normal socks, like the socks that we have, which is from cloth, you are allowed to use it at least for 24 hours, but then try to take it off and wash. Unless you are in a state or a place where it's really cold, taking it off will be a problem. Then you keep it. But with the hoof, when you have the leather socks, 3 days and 3 nights, you can keep it on. Just urine and going to the toilet is enough for you to just keep wiping on it. But if you are in the state of junub, you take it off. But if you're having normal socks, which is the cloth one, 24 hours. But this is just their ijtihad regarding the deen. Wallahu alam. Naam.
أخرجه النسائي والترمذي ولفظ له
وابن خزيمة وصححه.
خزيمة وصححه.
نعم. Next one.
وصححه. نعم. أنه قال على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Which one are you reading? Can you go back? I can't see where you are. Is it وعن علي بن أبي طالب?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
وعن علي رضي الله تعالى عنه قال جعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثلاثة أيام ولياليهن السافر
ويوما وليلة للمقيم يعني في المسح على الخفين. So Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he said جعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثلاثة أيام ولياليهن للمسافرين. So now you can see modification or more or less telling us extra information regarding wiping for 3 days. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made that for 3 days for only musafirin, travelers. Those that are traveling, they can wipe for 3 days. But muqimin, those that are staying at home, they only have 24 hours. Yawman wa layla, day and night only. Lil muqimin, for those who are staying home. So you can see the information I made mention earlier. That is where the scholars who said normal socks should only be 1 day, they took that. If that is for travelers, then those that are home, they can only wipe for a day, if it's just normal socks, and also for the hoof as well. Now,
وعن ثوبان رضي الله تعالى عنه قال
بعث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم
سرية فأمرهم أن يمسح على العصيب يعني العمائم والتسخيان يعني الخفاف. رآه أحمد وأبو داود وصححه الحاكم.
نعم. So Thawban radiallahu anhu, he said بعث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم Sariya expedition. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent out an expedition. Okay. فأمرهم, he then commanded him. He commanded those that are traveling أن يمسحوا على أصائب. أصائب يعني الأمائم. When they are making wudu, they come to wiping their hair. They should not take their turbans off. Normally they put turban on because they are in the desert because of the wind and stuff like that. So he said when it comes to performing wudu, they should not take their turbans off. They should just wipe on top of the turban. Naam. وَتَسَاخِينِ أي يعني خفاف. And also he also asked them to wipe on their socks. So this is hadith that is Rawahu Ahmad wa Abu Dawud wa Sahahu Hakim. So that is to look at those that are having turbans on. Sometimes when they're performing wudu, they just wipe on it without taking the whole turban off. So this is also one thing to look at regarding performing wudu. If it comes to women, normally sometimes they feel like they have to take the whole hijab off to perform wudu. But in normal circumstances, when they just wet their hand, just put their hand through their hair like this without taking the hijab off and put it back, it's enough for them. That's as simple as that. And also even with the turban, when we talk about it, when we come to salat, when you are making sujood, some of the turbans are too thick, but they said always it's easy طية أو طيتين, just one fold or two. If it's on your forehead and you make sujood on, is still enough. So we'll be looking at that. Sometimes there are things that the deen made it easy for people, but unfortunately if we don't know, then it becomes hard. You see people have gone out for maybe picnic or something, and sisters want to perform wudu. When they go to the bathroom, they have all that concern, they have to take everything off. So these are some easy way to do things. They just have to leave the hijab on. They just try to lift a bit and put their hand and then take it out. Is enough for them. Because only Imam Malik is the one who said that وَمَسْهُ بِكُلِّ رَأْسٍ, to wipe the whole hair. Some madhahib, you just wipe like this. Even some will just put their hand in the middle like this and come back. That's it. Wiping the hair. So when you touch a bit of the hair and take it out, is enough for you, according to some madhahib. And if you look at that, that will be a rukhsa for the sisters as well. Now.
وعن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه موقوفا وأنس مرفوعا
إذا توضأ أحدكم
ولبس خفيه فليمسح عليهما وليصلي فيهما ولا من الجنوبتين. أخرجه
So this hadith was narrated by Umar radiallahu anhu. He said that when you are performing ablution and when any of you performs ablution and puts his socks on, he may wipe over them. Offer prayer while wearing them and not taking them off. So this is basically when you perform wudu and you have your socks on, wiped on it when you perform wudu. You don't take them off when you're going to pray. If you take them off, you have to wash the feet, because the socks is part of the wudu at that time. So taking it off, your wudu is become naqis, because you've not washed the foot for wudu. You wipe on the socks, so it has to be on while performing prayer. If he so wishes, except in the case of janaba. So this one, of course, goes back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the only reason why you take your socks off to make ghusl, because you are in the state of junub. Apart from that, it's fine to pray as long as your wiping is on the socks, is okay. Or you performed wudu before you put the socks on, still your wudu is intact. You just need to pray with the socks or without the socks, is okay. Now, take the last two hadith.
وعن أبي بكرة رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه رخص للمسافر
رخص
وللمقيم يوما وليلة إذا تطهر
إذا تطهر فلبس خفيه. إذا تطهر فلبس خفيه.
أن يمسح عليهما. أخرجه الدارقطني وصححه ابن خزيمة.
So وعن أبي هريرة وعن أبي بكر وعن أبي بكرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه رخص للمسافر 3 أيام ولياليهن. So here Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, he said the Prophet ﷺ rakhasa has made it easy, pardon a traveler to have 3 days and 3 nights, وَلِلْمُقِيمِ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً, and the person who is living at home يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً, day and night. إِذَا تَطَهَّرَ فَلَبِسَ خُفَّيْهِ, as long as they cleaned themselves or made wudu before putting on the socks. وَأَنْ يَمْسَحَ عَلَيْهِمَا, next time when they performing any wudu, they just wipe on the socks. This one أخرجه الدارقطني وصححه ابن خزيمة. take the last hadith. وعن أبي بن إمارة.
وعن أبي ابن عمارة رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال
Isam, stop there. Isam. In yours, is it وعن أبي بن عمارة or ابن إمارة?
عن أبي ابن.
Is there Hamza? Is there Hamza next to the ibn?
No.
Okay, so don't say ibn, because what happens is when it comes in between two proper nouns, the alif goes away. You cannot say, so you don't have to use. So whenever you are looking at qawaid, the moment you get two proper names in between them and there's ibn, the hamza has to go away. So you cannot say ibn there. Okay? Wa an Ubay ibn Imara. Okay? Now.
وعن أبي بن عمارة رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال يا رسول الله على الخفين. قال نعم. رسول الله نعم. قال 3 أيام. قال نعم. وما شئت. أخرجه أبو داود وقال ليس
بالقوي.
ليس بالقوي.
Okay. وعن أبي بن عمار رضي الله عنه أنه قال يا رسول الله, he said, O Messenger of Allah, أمسه على خفين, should I wipe on my socks? قال نعم. The Prophet ﷺ said yes. قال يوما, he said one day. قال نعم. قال يومين, 2 days. قال نعم. The Prophet ﷺ said yes. قال 3 أيام, should I do it 3 days? قال نعم. The Prophet ﷺ said yes. نعم وما شئت, and he said, or whatever you wish. أخرجه أبو داود وقال ليس بقوي. So but he said, he is not saying the hadith is weak, but he said it's not strong in terms of evidence. Wallahu a'lam. Inshallah, we'll start nawaqid al-wudu in our next lesson. Inshallah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. We start with تعليم المتعلم طريق التعلم. So that is, it's a book that teaches us how to learn. If you have any question anyway regarding what we said in the wudu and also wiping on the leather socks or socks, please feel free to ask, inshallah. Now.
One question here. When it comes to the cotton socks, like some people put conditions to it, how thick it has to be or thin it can't be. And
no, mostly it's not. These are all ijtihad to talk about how thick the socks is. The most important thing is it should just go above the ankle. If it's below it, take it off and wash of it. Because washing the feet goes all the way about on top of the ankle. So if the socks is below, it's not covering that bit. Which means, are you going to wipe and wash just that small portion? So that's why it's not allowed. But it's not about the thickness. The thickness, all these are ijtihad. Because you are not wiping for water to touch your feet anyway. That's it. So if you're saying it's too thick above the flesh of your skin, then when the leather is on, that is even more far, regardless of how thin it is. It's not, the water is not getting through your feet. So all these are ijtihad. Okay? The most important thing is wiping, as I said, condition when it comes to socks, it has to be above the ankle, that's all. So far as your ankle is all covered, then you wipe on it. If not, just take it off and wash. Wallahu a'lam. Now, we go straight, for those of you online also, if you can type your questions if you have.